So we can make a start. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Executive Committee meeting. My name is Asjad Mahmood. I'm leader of Pendle Borough Council. I'm the chairman for this committee. We'll just do introductions to my left.
My name's Dean Langton. I'm the Chief Executive of the Council.
Good evening, Philip Spur, Director of Police.
Hello, Gemma Louise Wells, Head of Finance.
Councillor Dorothy Lord, Waterside and Horsefield Ward.
Councillor Mohammed Ahmed, Bradley Ward.
Councillor Zafar Ali, Bradfield East and Clover Hill.
Councillor Hanif, Bradfield West and Wheeler. Before I pass it on, Mr. Chairman, I love your tie. It's not your normal colour. You're normally very bright, but today you're wearing something with blocks, something like this. Something different. You know? Good one.
Thank you.
Somebody's going to take the mic.
Good evening. David
Can't
Walker,
be seen as
Assistant
meeting all
Director
the
for
time.
Operational Services.
Jane Watson, Democratic Services Manager.
Howard Culture, Head of Legal Democratic Services and Monitoring Officer.
Thank you. Councillor Sutcliffe.
Councillor Sutcliffe, I am representing Horsfield and Waterside and Col.
Sarah Coburn Price of Bullsworth and Folwich.
And David Coburn Price of the same ward.
Thank you very much. Any apologies? I think I've got Councillor Lola Whip. Any further apologies? No. Thank you. Declarations of interest? No. Public question time? No members of the public in present. So that's good. Minutes of the last meeting? Okay. All those in favour? Agreed. Thank you. Next item is the Cooperative Council's approach. I mean, I can move the report as set out. This is part of the Shadow Administration's ambition to kind of make the council more cooperative based. I think there's lots of things that we're already doing anyway, which is reflected within the report. But I think there is there's things that we can do a lot more. And also he mentions about the LGA, the local government organisation, local government association, which kind of gives lots of guidance, and becoming a member of that, I think will benefit with the council going forward. And I think it's worth noting that Preston's, council does a fair bit of cooperative kind of things, and we should maybe look at their kind of bit of a role model, if you will. So yeah, move the report. Councillor Hanif.
Thank you, Chair. I'll second the report, Chair. But I was actually, when I read this report, I was quite impressed. I wasn't aware we did all this, and we made quite a lot of the conditions, the criteria, and the three areas which we need to focus on. I think we're doing quite a bit there as well. It's actually from when it was originally discussed, I thought, oh God, it's a total new structure, set up, everything. We only got 18 months left with the LGR. Do we really need to go through all this exercise? But having this report, to be honest, is quite positive. It's excellent work by the staff who are already doing all this. The only question I have is obviously question 5.1 is the financial implications. So obviously, so is it my understanding that the maximum cost is 7.9k, but it's not going to be that much, it's going to be a lot less. Is that my understanding?
Yeah, let me through you, Chair. All we're quoting there is the cost of the membership of the Cooperative Council's network. I mean, there may well be costs associated with implementing the policy, but what I'm trying to do through this is balance the resources available to the council with the benefit the council might get. And equally, I think Councillor Whip's aspiration was it's not just what this council does, it's what people associated with the council do too, and whether we can encourage others to adopt cooperative principles rather than just us.
That's fine. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Sarah Coburn Price.
May I ask a question of Dean? So I read this, and it was quite clear that as you quietly stated, I sort of came at it in the same way as Councillor Hanif. I thought, gosh, there could be a lot of work. But when I read it, I still thought there was quite a lot of work. And, you know, in terms of you've got to set up a Pendle cooperative network. And although we do have a digital inclusion programme, as far as I'm aware, that's just one officer. And she's already really busy. And all of this sort of, and I'm pro this, but sort of dealing with the town councils, dealing with the parish councils, developing a Pendle cooperative network, supporting existing cooperatives, CICs, and other non-profits, etc., etc., etc. I did feel that it was a lot of officer time to do all of this successfully, because it's so broad and across everything that we do, from procurement to it's everything that we do. And although we're doing some of it, it did seem like there was quite a lot.
So through you, Chairman, I mean, the purpose of highlighting the 3 areas that we're talking about is largely because to some extent we were going to do that in any event. So one thing around the vision board, we have to understand what else the vision board can do and how we can work with other partners to do that. So that may not necessarily require a lot of resource from this council, but what we may want to do is encourage others on the vision board to start thinking about it too, and use the partnership in that benefit. In terms of the procurement policy and strategy, we're just about to have a new person start focused specifically on procurement, and the top part of their job will be to make sure that this council has an adequate procurement policy and strategy as we're going into the new organisation that comes. So I'm fairly comfortable that that's properly resourced and can be done. And in all honesty, item 3 is just using the website better to put information on there that will allow other people to access information. And I know we're on film here, but the idea there is to beg, borrow and steal resources from other places, not least the Innovation Network, to actually put on there so that people can see, have a ready-made resource that they can go to and do it themselves. There is a job then to promote it and to encourage people to use it. But again, part of this is the movement. In the same way that we do with climate change, it isn't just about what we can do, it's trying to encourage what other people can do and giving them the tools in order to do that. And if we can do that, then part of the movement is it's just the council there doing the job. A facilitator, in essence, I come at this from the very viewpoint that I suppose you're coming from, is that we have limited resources, but we want to try and maximise what resource we've got, and that's through the partnerships that we've got. It could, if we allow it to run away with itself.
That's what I was thinking.
The way they're approaching it, and I think the way the members will appreciate it, is that we're doing it in a measured, proportionate way. We're building on what we're already doing, and Councillor Hanif said, we already do a lot of what people would consider things that have a cooperative principle at the heart of it. So it's trying to get that balance between resources available and actually doing something useful.
Thank you.
Councillor David?
Just as an extra sort of follow-on from that, obviously it's about what we can do now, but rolling into the next council, the LGR setup, etc. So first of all, are our 4 potential partners in LGR members of this CCIN as well, or not? And should we be encouraging them? And then just an add-on to that is, I guess at the end of every council report, we always have these implications sections, don't we? Implications of climate and biodiversity, human resources, etc. Perhaps we should have another heading for local government reorganisation implications.
Putting noted. Regarding the other authorities, whether they're members of a co-op, personally I'm not aware. But I think this is kind of they are.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mix. There are, Preston is a member, Chorley is a member, South Ripple's a member of it. So it's a mix of councils are part of this. If I'm honest, it's largely a Labour-driven policy of things, so you could get a sense of which councils are part of it. Just on the implications bit, sorry. We get many requests for implications at the end of the report. We're going to end up with reports with implications and nothing in the report. So I take the point. The bit about LGR isn't lost on us in terms of some of this stuff. It doesn't mean we need a bit on implications there. We'll pick those things up as we go along. And again, I think in fairness to Councillor Whip, who's not here, I think her aspiration was, this is, if we can do this, why can't it be something that the new authorities take on board? And I expect in some cases that may well be, but you know, we ought to be encouraging the new organisation to think in these terms, and we can do that, but of course we're one of a number of partners within that mix.
Councillor Hanif.
Just a very quick point for you. Obviously, when you talk about it, this policy is a Labour policy, and he was looking at you. We are independents. We're not Labour. Okay, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Okay, that's fine then. Yeah, go for the vote, Chair.
All those in favour? Thank you. Next item is the notification of public consultation on the draft Lancashire Waste Strategy. Councillor Zafar Ali.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. If it's okay, through you, Chair, I was going to ask if David Walker wanted to take the lead for now, and I'll jump on the background. I just don't want to duplicate my responses, that's all.
Thank you, Chair. So the report really is just a promotion of the consultation that's currently out for consultation. It's been live since the 30th of June and it concludes on the 9th of August. So far, I'm aware that there's been over 2,000 responses, and there's been an increase in responses from the Pendle area, which is quite positive since we started promoting the consultation on Facebook. Consultation really is around the strategy, and the strategy has been through several meetings. The Lancashire Waste Partnership leaders groups have all had sightings of it and have all helped in the drafting of it. The vision is to reduce rubbish, improve recycling and build a low waste Lancashire, and that draft and the policy will continue beyond this authority and well into the unitary authorities that follow. So it will stay within Lancashire, and each authority, whether of whatever semblance they are, will work towards the visions and the objectives are within it. So it will be a useful document and will bring some visions and objectives for us all to meet in the future. As I say, at the moment there's been over 2,000 responses. I think of those responses, I think there's some interesting facts which I may relay. I suppose that over 65% of responders are female, and over 70% of the responders are over 55 plus. So I think there's just, if there's an ask, obviously it would be just to promote the consultation document a little bit wider and to different groups of the community, just so we get the full view of every resident and every residents group as we can. And I think that's all we're asking for, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Harley.
Yeah, thank you, David, for the succinct summary. And as he quite rightly points out, there's a massive chunk of our electorate that needs to get involved in the consultation. And obviously, as portfolio holder, my request and I urge all residents to get involved, because it is important to, understand the strategy that's going to impact us all. You might have seen, Leader, on paragraph 13, there are some interesting implications going forward into the future as well. In particular, in 2027, a deposit return scheme being introduced on certain items, which would also potentially affect income for the future authorities. Things like that affects everybody's daily habits and behaviours. So, my request is for all residents to get involved. I understand from my meeting with David that we are looking at engaging with the local Pendle radio to again try and reach a bigger audience, which again is important. But overall, it's as it's set out in the report, it's very clear. The consultation ends on the 9th of August, and we need to get the word out there. I'll be doing that with amongst my residents. I'm sure you'll do that with your patch, and the request is to all members in this room as well to try and do the same.
Thank you, Councillor Hanif.
Thank you. David, will you do me a favour? Will you email me the link so I can WhatsApp it? I'll send the link, which opens up to the questionnaire. So I'll send it on your behalf.
Thank you.
Okay. If you can put a paragraph or blurb so people know what it is, it will go out. Yeah. Thank you.
I'll second the report. Councillor Corbyn Price.
I'm not casting aspersions about the childhood that I led, But I am old enough to remember the excitement of collecting flagons of cider and taking them to Aries off licence for actual cash. And of course, in those days, I don't think I've got sort of rose-tinted spectacles. Nobody would throw a flagon of cider that was worth money, empty, over a hedge, because they could take it and get cash for it. And it absolutely makes sense that we'll be doing that again. I'd like to draw your attention to paragraph 10 and I am pro us having really ambitious figures. I am pro. But we have got some mountain to climb here. We have a baseline recycling rate of 26.5%, which is below all our sort of neighbours, which they are 10% higher than us. I'm not in any way casting aspersions at David Walker's team, who do a superb job. But that's a lot, because it says in the next line that by 2030, in just 4 years' time, we are aiming to achieve 50% recycling of municipal waste and 65% by 2035. That's immense. That's a huge shift. These people that have answered the questionnaire, I'm going to be sexist here, mainly women, it's partly because I would say women are responsible for sorting things out in the house. They might hope that men take the bins out, but beyond that, the sorting is done by the women. I could be wrong, could just be talking about my house.
If you can go to the question, stay focused.
But you know, it's an awful amount. We've got to double our improvement to get to that in just 4 short years, and then waste reduction of household waste by 10%. And this amazes me. I actually wrote "wow" in the margin. Reduce waste to landfill to below 5% by 2035. It's immense. I don't know whether it's trying to put us on par with countries like Germany or whatever. Absolutely, we should have these ambitious targets, but we've all got a lot to do to get it out there. I will certainly promote this. I'm sure that Ash will promote this. David's terribly shy, he won't promote it. But yeah, we've all got to pull together to try to get people on board with this, not just food recycling, but everything. And this deposit scheme excites me. I might start drinking cider.
Councillor Sutcliffe.
Thank you. I wasn't actually going to speak on this until literally just the last second when we talk about promoting, when Sarah was talking about promoting things. And I think we've probably learned a lot of lessons from the food waste scheme, and the fact that people don't still really get it. There's still lots of questions, and I think I'm looking at Dorothy because we get tagged on Cone Talk all the time if there's a question about something, and people are still saying, does it go out the front, does it go out the back, does it go out the side door, where does it need to go, what can I put in it? And that's through no fault of David Walker's team. I mean, the amount of information that's gone out has been phenomenal. But we need to look for the gaps as to why people are still not getting that, still not understanding why. I know there's been a decent uptake, but a sort of disappointing uptake from my point of view. And as Sarah says, because of some of the ambitious targets, using that as an example, it feels like we've got a very, very long way to go to reach those targets. So I think we need to look for the gaps in the communication probably more than anything. And I think that people just sort of look at some of the council things and think it's not to do with me. I genuinely think that's what happens. So I think that we need a bit of a change of tack in how the council approaches the communication of these sorts of things to sort of improve the success of those schemes.
Thank you for that.
Just very briefly.
No, that's okay. Thank you. No, thank you. No. So I think the point has been made about the comms. I think that we note that, and I think that's been highlighted by David and also Councillor Ali. If with the comms, and you're going onto the radio stations to advertise that and promote it, which is really positive. And it's we already had a very good positive response so far with 2,000, but we could do with more, which is really good. Councillor David.
Just a quick one on publicity. We discussed this kind of thing at the overview and scrutiny meeting. We looked at the kind of waste and messaging on bin lorries, etc. And there were different routes identified for the team to put out, videos, messages, or whatever. Get cheery bin men to make little TikTok videos and stuff like that. So that sort of way of promoting the messages, I think, is innovative ways to do it. Because I know we find that some areas have almost 100% use of the food waste bins, whereas some may be down to sort of 0 to 10%. So again, it's pretty easy to identify where to target resources.
All those in favour? Thank you. Thank you. The next item is the tenders report for decisions on. For the first one is for the provision and installation of a burial box. Councillor Zafrali.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Can I move the recommendations as set out for J. Rawson and Sons? They are the council's existing suppliers for this service, as it says in the report at 3.3. I'm happy to move the recommendation.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Yeah.
Thank you. Question. Is that a question? Sorry. Yeah. Question. Yeah.
Sorry.
Sure. Sorry. Yeah.
The report says in 1.3 we need approximately 50 volts a year. And obviously this is our supplier who we can only afford 36 a year. We can only afford 36 a year, according to para 5.1. So
I think there was a reduction of 4, I think, from the initial 40, I think. But
well, yeah, but it's still not 50 though, is it?
So yeah.
So that's the first part of the question.
But no doubt that will be reflected within the cost of the burial. Yeah.
That was my follow-up as well. So I'm assuming that 36 for £187,000 over 3 years gives us about £1,731 for each vault. And my understanding is you only put one body in each vault. Is that correct?
That's entirely up to the individual families
again,
that
just
buried.
whether that's reflected through into the fees and charges, etc., etc. Because obviously the costs are going up.
And I think that is, and I think we did increase the fees pretty much right across the board by 5% this year. So I think again that's reflected, and no doubt that will be looked at later on in the year when we get to that stage. Okay, Councillor Hanif, all those in favour? Yeah. Thank you. Next one is the Pendle Leisure Centre swimming pool.
Yeah, it's straightforward. Chair, can I recommend approval, please, for this?
Can I second that? Thank you. Yeah. All those in favour?
Yeah.
Thank you. Next item is the implications of Martin's Law. Councillor Lord.
Yeah, Martin's Law. I don't know whether everybody's aware of what Martin's Law actually came from, which was the Manchester Arena bombing. And this is really to change the way in which we protect people at events and stuff like that. I've spoken to Nathan Cutler at Contown Council about this. He's done quite a bit of training on it, and as far as that council is concerned, they're all geared up for, you know, God forbid that there will be any event like that. They have to make sure that the people they employ as security have had the same training. Anybody else in a building, you know, say the municipal hall, the hippodrome, I'm just taking those examples because I live there. It is going to be a fairly big task to get this right, but it's got to happen. It's got to happen. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lord. Yeah, I'm happy to second the recommendation as set out. I think it's crucial. Obviously, you know, we've got the lessons from the event that took place in Manchester, and that's why we've got this in legislation. And I think it's crucial that, you know, as a Pendleborough Council, that we work with our external partners or partner organisations and businesses and charities to make sure that, you know, we've got that they've got the appropriate risk assessments. Obviously, we've got to do all it in house as well, but also promote this externally with, like I said, with our other organisations where the risk assessments and policies and procedures are all in place. So yeah, happy to second that. Councillor David.
Just a couple of questions really. One is obviously in the recommendation it says in part B that we're going to do a full audit of council owned and operated premises, and obviously then we'll decide how big or small they are and what level they are and what we need to do. can I just say, why did we rush ahead with putting stainless steel spiky barriers outside Cone Market? We sort of jumped the gun a bit there. I think we had a discussion at Cone Town Council the other night and thought, well, if you have spiky fences just by the side of the road where people come across the zebra crossing, they're all going to trip over and spike themselves. So there might be a law of unintended consequences there. And obviously, you know, having it in the design scheme of the town centre would have been good. So that was just one point on that. And the other one is, if you're looking at all the venues that are both publicly and privately operated, what you don't want is people to have to start with a blank sheet of paper. You know, a risk assessment is going to be similar for many different sorts of buildings. So the more that we can do and the businesses can do to help share information would allow them to do this, because this is going to be another piece of paper, another bit of expenditure, etc., in order to meet the requirements for this law. So anything we can do to help businesses would be useful.
Thank you for that. No, that's a good point, and I think that should be. I think that we'll pick that up as an organisation and share that experience, and you know, maybe even like a template or something going forward. So it's a good point. Yeah, Councillor Sutcliffe.
Thank you, Chairman. This is a difficult one because it is so sensitive, and interestingly, I knew Martin as a social media friend, and he was one of the funniest people you could meet. So it's kind of nice that something good is coming out of his death, but at the same time, a little bit like Martin's presented us with all of these hoops to jump through and things that we have to do to kind of get on with life. In terms of the paper, I hate it with a passion. In terms of the law, I hate it all with an absolute passion. I've spoken to the Dean about this. I hate that we live in a world where we've got to go through all of this stuff and kind of, you know, address every bit of possible terrorist activity to have something as simple as an event in Colne Town Centre. And so that's an observation. This is not a criticism of anyone. My comments are mere observations on that. There's very little we can do other than sort of work within the confines and the networks of things that we've got in front of us. But in the 4.27 conclusion, while the legislation is proportionate, I'm pleased to see that, because it felt very early days when we were getting trickles of information about Martin's Law, it felt like we were going to have really onerous things that were going to stop events entirely because of the things that we would have to do to run an event. So I'm glad that it's proportionate. But I think I still worry that the words there about sustained investment, that it may prevent some things from happening. And I think that would be a real worry, that people can't afford to run an event and can't afford to run things. And a bit like David was saying about making sure that there's support from the council. I'm not saying that there should be any sort of financial support from the council in order to run an event. I just think it would be nice that if there are things that reduce the costs and, you know, make people able to run an event where ordinarily they may not. It may just be advice. It may purely be that we have a hotline to, you know, ESAG or somebody, you know, where we say, what is the best way to do this? Because I think in the short term, as people adjust to the requirements of this law, I think that it will probably stop people in their tracks when they want to run an event and think, no, we can't because of Martin's Law, before they fully understand it and really get their head around what's being asked of them. So I think if there's anything we can do, you know, to kind of chivvy people along and support them, then it will be really welcomed.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Again, it's a very positive and good point that you make. And again, you know, we talked about the Co-op Council, you know, about the redesign or making more accessible some of the kind of resources, if you will. And I think we can maybe link this into that part as well, where we're providing the, like I said, you might be like some very basic, simple advice, and I think it is currently used anyway through some of our officers, and then in the wider team from LCC. Like say for example, like if the highways matter, you know, or it involves them as well. So you know, I think that already happens in multi-agency approach where the police are involved, and you know, we had the community safety partnership the other day. So I think we can link it all up and provide some kind of basic templates, generic ones, and then each organisation can probably make use of that and tailor it to their kind of organisation. But yeah, it's a good point, and hopefully we'll learn again and keep developing that. Councillor Lord.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Councillor Sutcliffe means when he says the expense of it. I mean, the way I see it is, as particular with a security team, that they do know what they're doing, that they can evacuate properly, and follow the rules. So where would the expense come in, Ash? I just wondered, where would that make it expensive?
Councillor Lord, could go through the chair. That's okay.
Sorry. I'm not
I'm
allowed.
happy to answer if the chairman will let.
I'm not allowed to look at you, Ash.
Yeah. I don't think we're not willing to get in debate, but I think it's
No,
something
no,
that we
sorry.
need to. It's we've got policy in front of us. We will hopefully we'll get past tonight. There's work to kind of happen, and we'll take this forward, and like I say, we'll learn and develop it, and work with all our partner and organisations. All those
We have to go
Yeah,
with this.
absolutely,
We have to. There's no choice.
Yeah, it's positive.
You know, and when Ash was, Sarah was talking about in the past, I can go further back and coming forward. Who would ever imagine that you'd be sitting here? It's like a war cabinet, isn't it? You'd be sitting here in this day and age discussing something like this. It's horrific. But we have to go with what's put in front of us. We just have to.
And that's the law.
And that's
All
the
those
law.
thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. Next item is the annual safeguarding update. Councillor Lord.
Yeah, I came in yesterday and had quite a long conversation with Jill about the safeguarding. We talked a lot. I talked about my experience working in childcare, and even now with the disco that I run, it's all there, safeguarding. We all need to be aware about safeguarding. Every single one of us need to keep our eyes open. And if we suspect anything, people are not forthcoming with reporting. I think those children are being neglected. They don't want to do it. They don't want to do it because, and I've seen this in the past, the family will be split up. I worked in a children's home, and we have many cases where, in Nelson, where, a long time ago, where children were being brought in because they were badly neglected, and that happens all over the country. We have, what do they call it? Poster, thank you. A poster, and I believe that in the ladies and gents toilets here, there is a poster for people to read. So I've asked Jill if she will send that out to all the town and parish councils, and that will happen. So yeah, it's important. It's important that we all keep an eye on things, I can hear you through these,
Thank you for that. I'll second that. And as the report, talks about, the policy we approved in 2025, and provided staff, mandatory staff training, and also for the elected members. We've all gone through it to identify, safeguarding issues and how to report those. So I think it's very positive. It's really good. Councillor Coburn-Price.
If Yvonne Tennant was here, she would say something that she's said quite a lot, which is that she thinks that all councillors should have enhanced DBSs, because we do go into people's houses and we're out into the community. And I don't know how appropriate that would be, but certainly it's a thing that's standard, for example, at Combe Youth Action Group, which you'd expect. I'd like to make a point about the training and ask a question about the taxi drivers. So I go to these training sessions, and here it says that there were 19 out of 33 pitched up for the safeguarding, and that's actually a lot. Quite often it says this is compulsory, and then you look at the 4 other people that are there, either online or in the room, and you think, because that's not working for you at the moment, is it? That either you're setting the dates at too short a distance before the actual training, so people can't make it, and perhaps you should set them a year ahead and set them in stone, or you aren't using enough stick to make sure that people turn up to the training, because I swear there were fewer than half a dozen of us at the last one, weren't there? Which wasn't for safeguarding. And then question with the taxi drivers. It says here that 340 have undertaken refresher training in the last year out of basically 1,400, and they have to do that every 3 years. So is that a concern? Because obviously that's not a third.
So you're talking about
the taxi drivers.
Taxi drivers, yeah. I mean, if I remember correctly, so is it mandatory? I don't think it's mandatory, is it, for them?
I don't know if it's. But,
Yeah.
So I mean, the question. Sorry.
So I think some authorities do have it mandatory before they kind of. If I remember correctly, don't quote me on that, but I think some organisations might have it mandatory for something like that. But I think I'm not 100% sure whether this is mandatory or voluntary for our organisation. If it's voluntary, then obviously it
says must.
It must, but it doesn't say it's compulsory. So we can clarify that, and we can get back to you.
So I don't think it's a reflection that 1,396 should have done it. I think what it's saying is the number that occurred last year with 340, the balance may be in the subsequent 2 years, and it's a rolling thing. So it isn't the case that some who should have done it haven't done it, because it's a must do it, as you know. So I think that's how it's written. Perhaps it could be interpreted in different ways.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So just to you, Chairman, Councillor Lord rightly focused on children. This is as much about adults as well, and particularly vulnerable adults. So it isn't just highlighting where you potentially have safeguarding issues. I just wanted to reinforce that.
Thank you. Councillor Hanif. All those in favour? Thank you. Next item is the Revenue and Capital Overturn Report. Councillor Hanif.
Thank you, Chair. This report represents the final revenue capital outturn for last year and is asking for approval of slippage for 2 key items. So it's 2.2, a revenue slippage of £272,000 from last year to this year, which is highlighted on table 1 on page 3. And that's the first one. The second, obviously, approval which we need is the capital budget slippage of £16.3 million from last year to this year. And that is table 6, page 7, and appendix B. Now, the detail of the table 1, the variances are highlighted on page 4. Table 2, which goes into quite a lot of detail, obviously, all the figures which I'm not obviously going to spend all the time. All the councils have got the reports, and it just goes through each of the departments and what sort of things and where the money was spent, why the slippage was needed, things like this. So that is all detailed. Now, I'm going to propose that we approve this, Chair. Okay, I've got a comment on Gemma. Last Tuesday she spent, a long time, persuading me, educating me. Thanks, Gemma, because it's not easy to look up, small numbers, that's fine, but when you go to millions, even people like myself need to learn, okay? So, thanks, Gemma, for all that work, okay? So, I think straightforward, we need to move the slippages. Obviously happened because of the delay in works across all the areas which we're working from David's area to Arndale Centre to everything else. Sorry, Pendle Rise. Sorry, I'm old, Arndale Centre. Everything else. So I'm proposing we accept the report, Chair.
Thank you. Happy second that. Councillor David Coven Price.
Of course.
Thank you. Yes. Obviously, you've now passed this one over to Councillor Hanif to look after. Thank you for the explanation there. On the slippage, the 272 on page 3, whilst there is a lot of explanations on 4 and 5 about the variances of unders and overs for the whole year, it doesn't actually say what the slippages relate to. So, you know, we've got 154,000 slippage in legal and democratic, but the comment only talks about the underspend for the whole year. So, you know, that one and the 70,000 for operational services, what are we sort of rolling into the next year in relation to those two biggish items?
So I've got
Any more questions? More questions?
just one second.
Does the council
Councillor Hanif,
for each?
just one second. Let David finish and then. Yeah.
Okay. I was going to do it one at a time, that was all, but yeah. Okay. A similar one feeding through into 3.12. Obviously, we're looking at the reserves there, feeding into Appendix A. So yes, we originally wanted to take 497 from the contribution from reserves. I couldn't see where the 199 came in. I looked at what numbers trying to make that up, and I couldn't think to myself, how do you combine those numbers to make that? It's not the bottom line numbers, it's not the budget strategy line. So a quick explanation on that one. Then I also wanted to just make sure on the reserves in Appendix A, obviously at the end of the year, we had 13.6 million of total reserves. And obviously we're predicting that, you know, in 26/7 and 27/8, we'll spend about half of it, and we'll end up going into LGR with 7.4. So we're preserving the budget strategy reserve, which is obviously good, and we're spending the reserves properly that should be spent. Just want to make sure everyone's happy with that as a position to go in. And I think... Oh yeah, final one, then Appendix B on the capital programme. As you point out, we entered the year with a lot of slippage brought forward. We've had lots and lots of spend in the year, so that's good. And I think the total in the right-hand column there down the bottom is a sensible one going forward. I think we're all familiar with all these various projects. I think the point we made last time was, are we happy that we can deliver as much of this as possible by March 28?
So definitely yes.
Get spending, get digging.
Councillor Hanif.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think I can obviously answer the first one, but I think the other ones, I think I'll pass it to the expertise of Gemma, because point 199, you know, I'll leave that to you, good self. Yeah, I'll pass it on.
Okay, so to answer Councillor Corburn's first questions, the 154,000 slipped in legal is in the main area committee slippage. So it was agreed when area committee budgets were moved out of capital a couple of years back that revenue slippage would be allowed for up to a full year of budget. So where they haven't finalised spend on their projects, those are being moved forward.
I don't feel the need to approve that if you don't want.
There's some valuable projects in the pipeline.
Okay.
The £70,000 on operational services is all for one project. It's the sports fund that was set up at council in February 25. Yes, that's what's left of it, the £70,000. The 199,000 is an erroneous figure. So in the reserves explanation in 3.9, you'll see that the right figure, 143,000, which is then reflected in table 1, right at the bottom, the difference on the actuals there is how much we were able to instead move in, or rather it's the variance there. The 199, I think, has just not been updated when we did a final view through.
Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. Next item is a Treasury Management Outturn report. Councillor Hanif.
Thank you. Again, the purpose of this report is to inform the executive and colleagues of the performance of the council for last financial year. I think the key areas is to look at is 3.4, the borrowing. Now, last year the borrowing, the overall cost of debt on 31st of March was 2.76%, and the investments the investment return achieved for the year was 4.05%. That means we actually benefited quite a lot on our investments, and the borrowing we did ages ago was excellent. As the Chancellor would have said, prudent. Okay, is that the right wording? Okay, yeah, prudent. So I think overall we're doing quite well. Our investment is giving us a lot of returns, which is obviously invested in the last few years. We wouldn't have got that return, so this was going back quite good. Looking at 3.6 is the general fund revised budget, which was £1.24 million. Now, the actual charge to these budgets were the figure stated there, with a total spend of £1.169 million share. Overall, and then you got this excellent thick report, okay, to read. Thank you for that. You know, halfway I got bored and I stopped it, by the way, okay? So it was very, for me it was quite complicated, but you know, at least I went 50% of it. So I'm proposing we accept this chair, and thank you for the staff, because to be honest, this is very tedious, boring, but it's very essential work. Okay, councillors might think, oh, what the hell is all this? But if it wasn't for them at the backbone, as a council, these reports are essential for obviously looking at the past and going to the future. And thanks, Dean, for all your input, which I know you do put in.
It's the height of excitement.
Of course, of course it is. And of course, your counterpart over there will be now looking at the spelling mistakes and everything else. I'm surprised you haven't found one yet.
Councillor.
Hold your breath. Hold your breath.
Sorry, yeah.
Councillor.
Okay.
I'll second the report, and I won't say it's boring. If you know, it's absolutely, like you say, it's essential and it's a crucial piece of work that goes on behind the scenes, and you know, and it's the whole team we want to acknowledge and you know say a big thank you, and if that can be minted as well, and especially with the investment side of things as well, you know, it's crucial that you know we note down, accept all the good work that goes on. Councillor David Coburn-Price.
Thank you, thank you. I'll try to make my comments not so tedious or boring. And on behalf of the accountants in the room, have you attended the training yet? This is sorry. Have all members of the exec, as mandatorily required, as well as accounts and audit, been to the Treasury Management training? The answer is no. This was one of the briefing sessions that Sarah and I were on the other day when there were not many people there, and the poor chap from MUFG whistled through all this information to give us all the background information. So I do encourage you to catch up on video, because obviously it is declared as being a mandatory requirement for ULOS. In terms of numbers, I think you say in 3.4, obviously the borrowing is not moved a great deal, but that's good because it's all long-term anyway. So it's good medium and long-term profile on that one. So we'll keep those interest costs down as long as possible for that one. Clearly, as we touched on just a few minutes ago with the capital expenditure budget, we've spent an awful lot, and basically the investments going from 33 down to 21, that's where the money went. So we've spent and spent and spent on that kind of thing. And yes, while we have a sort of net positivity, it'll start to diminish in time. So that's where the money goes as we spend on all these projects and such like. And again, it's highlighted in the exec summary of the MUFG report, where on the very first table in the exec summary, the bottom line net borrowing 14.7 now down to 3.8. So that highlights that for everyone's benefit. We are prudent, obviously, in section 2, where it says that we are under borrowed against our CFR figure. So again, we're prudently being able to finance things using the cash we've got available. And that point about the profile of the debt profile on section 3, it doesn't have page numbers, this report, does it? So on section 3 there, it talks all about that one. One question really, a bit of LGR knowledge I suppose, is when we all merge together, I know we'll keep all our books separate in some way, but are we merging together assets, investments, debt, etc., or are we going to keep ours totally ring-fenced in some way? And will that be for a certain amount of time, perhaps? But that was all.
So, for you, Chairman, no, we will merge everything together. So this council will be abolished and Lancashire County Council will be abolished along with the other 13 councils. And we will aggregate our financial position with the other authorities down the M65, and we will also then aggregate in, following a disaggregation, a share of the county council financial position. So, yeah, this council won't exist and nothing will be ring-fenced. There will be a bit of an overlap because there will be a need to close this council's account for 27-28 because that will happen in 28-29. But fundamentally, everything will be thrown into the pot together.
It's not like every ledger code will have 5 little sub-ledgers for each of the 5 councils.
No, one of the savings is to have 1 rather than 5, and you can replicate that comment in relation to many different things. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. The next item is the recoverable debt. Councillor Hanif.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, this report, Chair, is recommending write-offs of debts relating to council tax, national non-domestic rates, and overpayments of housing benefit. And what it's asking for is to approve the sums of £25,900 approximately in respect of housing benefit overpayments, which is paragraph 3.2. £1.163 million in respect of council tax liability, and which is, I think, paragraph 3.7, and 290,000 in respect of national non-domestic rate liability, which is paragraph 3.22. And finally, it's asking for approval to write off £137,000 approximately in respect of court costs associated with council tax and national non-domestic rates, which is paragraph 3.29 to paragraph 331. Now, when I obviously had the chat with the officers, things like this, these are staggering, obviously large numbers, okay? And what I found out was that this is obviously, the last time we did this was October 21. So this is not just this year's, this is a 5 years cumulative, which is obviously, that's why the numbers are very high. So let me say from the outset, I've asked the officers, can we do this in a quarterly, please, from now on, which is going to be the norm. So officers will be doing that, which is good. Obviously, write-offs do happen in any organisation. Now, when people look at these figures, these are not small figures. So, but we got to then look at this as a 5 years of a 5 year write-off. Now, the details that, I mean, I can go through all the details, is all highlighted in the paragraphs and the description and the details there, Chair. So, and I'm sure councillors have all read this, so I'm just going to move that we approve this, Chair. To be honest, and I'm sure we're going to get some comments, observations later on, but it's something we have to do.
Thank you. Councillor Armour.
Yeah, can I please chair though? I mean, second that, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor David Corbett, please.
Yes, I think Hanif answered one of my questions there about the age profile in a way of some of these, because obviously it's a fair number of cases and a fair value. So 3.7, I suppose, if this has appeared over a 5 year period, you're looking at a pretty good long age profile of this kind of thing. I know we've seen ageing reports on debts at some of the meetings with Liberator as well, so that'll give us some idea of that one. In terms of 3.9, obviously we're making a lot of efforts where people don't want to be in that table above, or we don't want to be. So we're looking at instalments, we're looking at attachments, etc., taking things from benefits. Do you know how many people are subject to these sorts of arrangements, and what value of our £66 million of total collectibles each year that is? That's one question. The same is true for the NNDR one. Obviously, we've got a lot less flexibility there on what to do, but are there people there again with arrangements to sort of identify how that can be collected in some way?
Thank you. Just before you, Councillor Sutcliffe.
Thank you. At 3.21, there are circumstances where we identify debtors whose debts has previously been written off. in those instances the debt is reinstated and pursued for repayment, for what period of time would that be? Is that within the 6 years of statute of limitations or something like that? It'd just be interesting to know that, you know.
I think my understanding is that obviously you might have the write-off, but if somebody comes back on the radar, as in you can identify that this person is the person who actually owes the council, so that case can be opened again and pursued through the proper channels. So, yeah.
What's the time?
Yeah, what's the time? That's what I'm asking. I mean, I'm glad that it happens, but you know, it's obviously there will be a limitation on times. But is it?
Yeah, through you, Chairman. I will check, but so long as we're reminding people that they owe us money, right, then the time starts again. Okay. Right, so it's that kind of regular reminder. That's my recollection with it. But I will check and come back to you. In terms of people, how many people are on each course? Well, of course, it changes on a regular basis because people will come in out into payment and out of payment. They will be on a liability order, they'll be off a liability order. So it will be a moving feast. And as ever with these things, we give you a snapshot at a point in time. So, yeah, it's difficult to say. I'm happy to have a look with colleagues to see whether we can pull something together. But the thing about the age, of course, we're talking about council tax that goes back to 1992. A lot of cases, and whilst a lot of it's been written off since then where we haven't been able to collect it, it still goes back because we don't write it off lightly, and in some cases we haven't been writing off for the last 4 years either. So some of the stuff you get in here is properly aged debt, a good number of years, so it isn't just from the last 4 years, it goes well before that. And you know, we don't, as Councillor Heath said, we don't want to do that, but of course the resource that we've got needs to focus on the debt that we can collect where it's possible to do so. The other thing I say is just don't forget that our collection rate is 95% in any normal year, and it will rise as we collect prior years' debts in subsequent years. So, you know, in terms of collection, we're up there with the majority of councils. So I know members were a bit concerned about giving an impression we don't collect debt. We do, and we will continue to chase people in an appropriate manner to collect the debts.
Thank you.
Just to add to that.
Yeah, sure. Yes, Howard, sorry. Yes.
Liability orders never die, it seems. And once we've got a liability order, then we can get it if it resurfaces, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's good. Sarah Coburn-Price.
So obviously, I think you did yourself down. It's very, very nearly 97% collection, it says here on page 5. But I'm concerned about, or I'm asking a question about paragraph 3.8. At overview and scrutiny, we had laid out before us a whole sort of strategy of how to do forced sales and how the council is going to do more of those. And so paragraph 3.8 says that there were 6 debts of over £10,000. So they might not be householder debts, I don't know, they could be commercial. But my question is, how often have we, or are we planning to, where a debt is that substantial, put a charge against the property and force a sale if the person owns their own home?
So, in terms of charges against properties, and specifically related to council tax, I don't know the number, and I don't know whether we've actually used that as a means for recovering debts. I know we've done it in terms of works in default. We do that quite often where we have to go in and deal with properties. In relation to council tax, I don't know. Again, the issue with choosing how to recover debt is a balance between what will it cost us to do that versus what will it recover in due course and how quickly will it recover it. So that's part of the consideration, and in the main you collect the debt through liability orders because people see that and they pay. There'll be very few where the debts are so substantial that we have to go down a charging order route, but it doesn't mean we don't do that. We have to spend money in order to get to that point.
Okay, thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. Next item is the minutes of the Climate Emergency Working Group. Norton. Yeah. Can you give a second?
Second.
The very last page where it says resolved. This is something when I was chairman, I tried, and Philip Spur will agree that I tried to bring this to the exec. But here it is in the minutes, resolved. That efforts be made to progress the National Climate Emergency Briefing and the Plant-Based Treaty to the exec for consideration. So here it is written down in front of you for consideration. I don't know whether that counts as being on the agenda or whether, in fact, extra reports have to come forward to explain what these are, because I have been trying now for more than 6 months to get the council to focus on these two things that the working group is very keen for the council to sign. Other councils have signed.
No, I think it's already been moved to we note it and it's been seconded, so we will note that at this stage. So maybe we can consider it in the future. All those in favour? Thank you. The forward plan? Any comments? No. Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Good night. Okay, yeah.